in saying that though, it's probably a conversation for a co-op video. What do you reckon?
I think I'm down.
I think you're down? Yo, what's going on, homies? It's your boy Stump and the GOAT, Captain Papi, back again for a State of the Game co-op edition.
Favorite content, baby.
It's the co-op edition, baby.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
We're talking co-op. Speaking of co-op, Papi, do you want to run some co-op? Or like...
We can try.
We can try? I mean, at least we can showcase like what we're talking about here, right?
I'm down.
Alright.
Absolutely.
So...
Like, you know, without further ado, when Colt was first introduced, what was your anticipation for what was to come, and then how has that been reflected into what actually occurred?
Well, ironically, we spoke about a very similar content idea 2 State of the Game videos ago, probably roughly about that.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly when, but we were talking about doing 12-man content where you bring 2 teams and you rotate through. I think the game mode itself is a terrific idea. I love playing with friends and having those extra dimension to the OPTC verse where you can play with people. However, there are some problems.
Yes, indeed.
There are some problems. And
another situation of right idea, wrong execution, unfortunately.
yeah. And look, this is still early days. Very early days of the co-op game mode regardless. But I guess in today's video, we're sort of going to have a chat about it, of what that looks like.
Absolutely.
So, as a whole, I'm actually a huge fan of co-op. I actually really enjoy the idea. I think it's very clever in the way that you can run 2 teams. However, having to go up against random units can be a little bit annoying.
Yes.
In saying that, though, I don't really understand how they would make a piece of content that doesn't get cracked straight away, I suppose.
Yeah.
Every single week, I guess, because, or one week of the month,
Yep.
that people have to play as a 12-man team to actually break down. I feel like that would fall under the bracket of, like, Grand Voyage difficulty without the restrictions.
Yes.
So I don't dislike the whole we have a random situation going on. However, I do understand why it annoys some people.
I think I can speak on that point. I think that the reason why I'm extremely frustrated at the fact that there are so many bosses is that, I mean, first and foremost, there's 10 final bosses, which is just an obscene number.
Is there?
To kind of plan for. Yeah, there's 10 final bosses on Infinite.
Oh, you mean like you have the there's 10 options.
The option of 10 final bosses.
Yeah. Yep.
Say. And not to even go beyond that, there are countless combinations of mini bosses from stages. What is it, 4 to 6? Pretty much 3 to 6 for the most part. And whilst I agree with you in that sense, I think that those numbers are quite exorbitant. In my opinion, and I get why they've done 10. It's because they can kind of, like, when you look at like the actual like bosses, for example, like, you know, Luffy only puts up, I say only, but he puts up 12 turns of defense up, he despairs, and then he gives you 5 turns of attack down. So technically speaking, he only does 4 debuffs, which in the common game is quite, I guess, common, I suppose. And then, for example, something like everyone's favorite, Usopp, he's a bit more annoying because he does damage limiter. And he does 10 turns of percent damage reduction. He changes orbs, special bite, attack down. Again, it's anywhere between like 4 to 5 debuffs that the boss is providing. And while that's accessible as a boss, you still have to deal with like 3 more mini boss stages that can vary in combination and difficulty, where in some situations you're not going to be able to defeat the run because you've had to spend resources on these mini bosses to some capacity. And I think that it's just a bit excessive, I think, is the kind of answer to that. And I agree that you need to have that flexibility to create this puzzle factor of things. At the same time, you also need to make it accessible. I don't know, like, is Infinitium C meant to be accessible for all players? What's the vibe there, I suppose?
I guess
what's the approach to it?
I guess the whole concept of co-op and you can find players that make it accessible, that's where they kind of wanted to sort of balance it out. Because if it wasn't, and people were just like, could clap it by themselves, then we'd be in a bit of a conundrum of, well, the co-op game was not even co-op.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I think overall, like, I think the gameplay itself is fine. You know, I think the idea, I like this idea of, like, obviously cooperatively solving a puzzle. I think this mode has kind of come back to Treasure Cruise's roots of being a puzzle game, where you're using the resources in front of you to resolve a puzzle of some kind. I think that's fantastic. However, I think that it's like we have a 20-piece puzzle, but they're giving us 37 pieces.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, or you take the chance of utilizing one piece and hoping it doesn't pop back up again.
Exactly. It's like, I'm going to put this... I think this is the corner piece. There's 4 corner pieces. And then there's 4 more somewhere. You don't know which one's the ones. You pop the corner in, and then once you get to the very end of the puzzle, you're like, oh, that was wrong.
Yeah, that's... I needed that piece now.
Right. That's where the concerning factor comes in.
Yeah. As a whole, though, I think, and we were talking about it before, the game, like, the gameplay is great. But as a whole, the drops, pretty nice for the mid-game player, the average Joe. New players, love and life, because they're getting everything that they have to wait months for. Stuff like your, what are they called? To level up support.
You get your support, you get support medals, you get your tomes, you get your manuals, like, you're getting luck drops as well, so that's really good for those earlier games that don't have a lot of dupes to feed in, etc., etc.
And for the end game player now can use them to level up co-op level, right? How many co-op levels you got, bro?
I've got 1 unit maxed out.
1 unit maxed.
And it's literally the only unit that matters, because I think this is kind of a blessing in disguise as well, though, is that you technically only need 1 character, or 1 character per crew at least, with their co-op stats maxed out. Which I think is fantastic, because it is expensive.
Yes, it very much is.
Very expensive to max these stats out. And whilst I understand why it's the case, and because it's only 1 unit, that's fine. But at the same time, again, for those beginning to end game players, the materials don't overlap, if that makes sense. Where using a manual on a character to level up their skill does not suffice to using a manual for their co-op stat.
And vice versa.
That. That's horrid. Poor design entirely. I'm doubling up the materials that I'm required to. For example, the candy part, right? I saw a JP player have a unit that had plus 999 candy. That's awesome, but that means that, like, you have to feed them in 2 separate places. Or even the support medals. Support medals are not as easy to come by, but using a support medal for your co-op stat is not the same as using a support medal for your support stat.
Yeah.
So, like, it might be an oversight. I'm not sure, but at the same time, it's a bit stinky. I don't know. It's a bit of a concerning factor. So I think the drops are negligible at best.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, if you only need 1 character to be leveled up, then the captain ability kind of just helps you beat the other runs.
Yes.
If you are utilizing the mission teams. At the end of the day, you just find someone that can have that foolproof team, and you're off to the races, and it works like an absolute dream anyway. So, realistically, the drops are really, really good for new players and mid-game players, which I don't want to discredit. But obviously, for us end-game players, they don't really mean too much, I guess. Like, they're not there to suffice us with exactly what we need. However, the gems and the summons that we get to do at the end of the month, they can be kind of nice, right? My fucking cord won't work too.
I think I'm a pessimistic PD this whole for co-op, because again, I think the summons / drops are again very negligible, where you're farming for what is 3 months for the result of 55 units and a potential of getting maybe 20 gems as your ranking rewards. Which is kind of cooked. Because you're farming for 3 months for 20 gems? Like, I don't know, man. I don't think that that's fair. Like a fair return on investment for 3 months of farming in my eyes. I don't know how do you feel about it, I suppose.
Again, I feel like it just benefits the mid to early game player, right? It just gives people more access to characters they may or may not have. So for me, I don't dislike it. But I don't think it's something that I will go and chase, because I was in Japan for the first season and I kind of just played when I could and summoned on the banner when it was obviously available, and then just kind of picked the banner, the summons that had Yamato on it, which in turn didn't matter because they gave you a bunch of Yamatos anyway. But for me, it was just kind of like, well, this is nice. We're getting a bunch of characters. It's kind of cool.
Exactly. I think that it's cool, it's fun, it's nice, but I think that it's just a bit of an oversight again, because it's just not worth it. It's really, really, really not worth kind of grinding that much. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very... It just feels like, at least in my eyes, like I more power to people that want to farm as much as humanly possible. Like, that's awesome, good on them. But for me, it's a matter of being like, okay, I'm gonna do my dailies. Like, thankfully, shout out Tony. Me and him basically grinded out all the Chopper Man missions on day 1, which was awesome, really fun. Once they were done, I just cleaned up the CMMs, and then I farmed once per day. And that's it. Like, I cleared 3 clears per day to just do the needful, and then moved on, right? Which is cool. Whatever, but it seems a bit sad that you have this entire new game mode where you have the opportunity to play with friends and really get in there, but there's really no incentive to go and do that, because even like the units you're pulling for people in our positions, they're still old. Like, I believe that last banner was up to November of 23, which was like
Momo
Hiyori. Which is
good
cool.
for me. I didn't have Momo.
Exactly, you didn't have Momo. But I mean, like, dupes of Momo is fantastic, right? But like, if you can pull him,
did you pull Momo?
I don't think I pulled Momo.
I didn't pull Momo. I think the best legend I saw, or the most like recent legend I saw, was Stampede Luffy.
I might have been something like that. I might have been along those lines too.
Which was good for one of my multis, because Stampede Luffy's like the highest Luffy you could get for like the time limit
hella points.
Bonus.
Hella points, you know?
Yeah. But like other than that, like, I don't know, the game mode just seems kind of it just seems kind of there right now. And
yes,
I really hope that they do expand on it like the way they have with Treasure Map, and how they've done stuff with Kazuna and whatnot as well, because I think it does have quite a lot of potential. It just needs a little bit of tweaking. And the game mode, like you said, the game mode's good, but we have a bit of a problem with all of the damn crashes.
Oh, okay, let's crack the fingers. Look, I think that's like the first and foremost biggest issue is the stability of the game is so lacking, and this is like evident with the entirety of OPTC to begin with, right? It's this idea that like, because the game is so archaic, the way it's designed is that it has to keep pinging the server so consistently to like get information, pass information off, and that kind of seeps into all these new modes where it's like you can't really update it in that sense, and etc. Like, it's just so weird, and it's just that the game is so old and archaic that the mode just crashes because there's just so much going on, and it has to update so much information so consistently as well. Like, and it ruins the experience. I would personally say it really makes me frustrated when I go to play the mode and I'm in a quest and it just crashes and you're like, oh god.
Yeah.
Like, you have to get back into the game. And then when you're in the game, you have to hopefully get in before the timer. Mind you, that timer is the most useless thing in the game, period. By the way.
Yeah, it doesn't mean shit.
It doesn't do anything, right? You know, it goes from there. And then you have to get back in the game. And if you crash, and it's time. And then, like, I keep crashing. I'm like, I don't want to play anymore. And, like, so on and so on. And it's just like, Jesus Christ. Like, come on. Like, what are we doing here, dude?
Yeah, when you're playing with friends, I find it's all right. Because you can be like, oh, all right, game's crashed. Just wait for me. But even when I was doing Chopman missions, I was doing them with Jay. It just made the runs go for days.
Yes,
like
so
it was
long.
like a 15-minute video because we were just waiting for the game to reload, get back in. We're like, yep, cool, no worries. And then what we've seen, it procs around bind and the special reverse interrupts, like the preemptives, I should say. So if you don't get them, you churn. But again, as we spoke about earlier, you have about 90 something different combinations of units that could pop up as your boss units.
So like it's so many combinations, yeah.
So you're bound to get it eventually, and it's bound to crash. And if you're playing with a random person that doesn't know your game has crashed, there's a good chance that they've either skipped or they've moved on. I remember I was playing with someone and I was like, I saw the boss and I put up like, let me handle this. And they were like, yeah, sick. And it gave the interrupt. My game crashed. They skipped over to me. And because they'd skipped to me, my game wasn't there. So they just attacked and then we lost. I was like, cool. That was the last level of Infinitum C. And now I got to run the whole thing again. It's like, not fun. Just because the game crashed.
I scrolled for 1,000 years, but I finally found how much it costs to max out co-op stats.
Oh,
so 100 support medals, 100 Sugo rare manuals. Mind you, for legends, it's the legend ones.
Yep.
For rare recruits, the regular ones. 100 luck drops. 1,330 of each candy. So that's 3,990 candy in total. And then 69,900 co-op medals to max out a unit entirely.
Yep.
That is so much in terms of resources to max out a unit.
Yes,
for what value? Like, really not that much. You know, like, I think you could pretty comfortably... I think the only reason why I even maxed out Odin, I use V2 Odin, is because his special does a 2 million fixed, I think it is.
Yeah, and
so you can get through, like, stage 3, just pop it, you're through. Yep. That's the only reason why. Otherwise, there are some other units. I think, like, the support style units have -1 debuff, something like that, which is quite good as well. But because only one unit can have the co-op stats at a time, like, I understand the reasoning behind making it so expensive, but at the same time, it's like 1,300 candy is a lot. It's a lot of candy.
That's a lot, yeah. And especially for someone that doesn't want to like grind the game, or a newer player that's like just coming into the game.
Yeah.
That is using that cotton candy as an actual form of resource.
Heck, and now I'm thinking about it, I don't even think I think I only maxed out Odin special.
Yeah, see, I'm more of an advocate of doing rare recruits because it's you don't need to use those manuals. But even still, getting those manuals, like, you can get rare recruit manuals from this particular game mode. However, like, it's still a lot of manuals, man.
And then, not even an item that's actually gone under wraps is also the co-op tome.
Yeah.
Because the way to even max out a character is you either have to use a co-op tome or you have to get them to 150.
And, like, that's going to be a problem for a lot of players because I've been recently helping out a client's account. And, like, for my actual job, like, I don't fucking help people as a job in OPTC. And he's, like, a newer player, plays around the time of, like, big celebrations. And he, like, I just said, grind out a couple of co-op matches so you can get stuff like tomes and your medals and stuff and whatnot. And he's like, oh, what co-op captain should I use? And I was like, well, you've only got one. Like, you got Luffy. Yeah, that's what you got. But then, because of that, you can't run Gear 5 6-star. You can't run any other Luffy on the team, which is, like, one of the most prominent characters in the game, because you have to use that one character.
Yep. It's true. Like, it's... Like, I feel like we've barely even talked about co-op. You know what I mean right now? Like, I feel like it just seems weird because there's so much going on in co-op. Like, there is so much going on at the same time, but on the contrary, it is so straightforward.
Yeah.
Like, it is so just like, you get into a quest, you beat the boss, you get some rewards, you move on. Like, I just don't like. I don't know. I think that like OPTC has fried our brains because everything that we think about is generally related to the rewards that we're going to earn in our own regard. And I think that I just can't get over the fact that the rewards are so poor. So poor for players. I wish you could see them now, but you can't see them unless the banner's out. But like, I think it was like rank 1 got like 10 copies, and then if you got rank 10,000, you got 5 copies. Like, don't even get me started at the fact that we're ranking based upon luck,
based upon summons,
like based upon how lucky you are as the rank that you earn. Like I saw people that did 3,600 stones, like people did 3,600 stones, and they ranked top 50. I saw people that did 10,000 stones and then couldn't even rank top 1,000. Yeah. So it's purely based upon like how lucky you are, I suppose, is the case. But even then, it's like, I think it's a pretty general consensus. The Yamato that released is very average.
Very average, man. Actually, even, a bad unit.
Even in a boosted world, and we keep calling it a boosted meta, but it's just treasure cruise now, right? It's just how the game works, right? Yamato's boosted in TM. Am I going to use Yamato in my TM teams? Absolutely, because Yamato's a 1.35 booster. In the next treasure map, most likely Yamato will not be boosted. So I would most likely never use that Yamato again, And that's the upsetting part, is that, once again, we're in a situation where we have this unit, like, and don't get me started again, like, farming for I'm stumped. Do you know how stressed I am at what the quality of the unit's going to be for this season of co-op? Like, I believe it's a legend. If I remember correctly, in the data mines, it might be a legend. We don't know for sure yet. But players are farming for 3 months to get this character. They better be good. They better be good to some degree. Because if you remember, this is actually an exact copy of what Kazuna started off as.
True.
We farmed for 4 months to get the materials to max out Zoro and Sanji. What did they do? A 2.5x attack boost, I'm pretty sure. Which at the time was 2.75.
Yeah, it was good at the time.
But now you're like, damn, if that's what we're getting now. Like, I think, what does the Yamato do? Like, double special activation, and the Yamato does increased damage, and then does like 3 turns of burn and bind or something like that. Like, bro, what?
Yeah.
Like, very poor design in that kind of regard. Like, it just seems as if, like, and people, I think that, I know I'm rambling, and I do apologize. Generally, I have my thoughts more intact here, but I think that the Yamato is just so poor, and people's perception of having to grind so much to get enough for the level limit break for this unit, I think, is a bit delusional. At the end of the day,
you've got posters as well for that. Like, it's
the general strategy, I think, is get a copy of the unit and then move on from there. I think that's just the general strategy of what's occurring here.
Yeah.
That's how I would see it as.
Overall, though, I think co-op's a lot of fun, and I think that's what a lot of people should sort of dive into it with the expectation of. If you can't complete the Infinitum C, don't stress. It's an RNG game mode.
Yeah, don't stress.
If you can do King of King of the Pirates?
King of Pirates.
Most players should be able to do King of the Pirates, even with a fresh account. You should be able to do that fairly nicely. The banners that are out still for the 10th anniversary have a lot of very good characters that can clear it very easily. If you're a new player coming to the game, jump into co-op, because even if you can't find friends to play with like a random lobby, and you'll find that you can get yourself some good rewards, and probably not exactly learn the mechanics of the game, but at the same time, you can see a lot of different mechanics.
I think last season I did all the Troublemaker missions with the randoms. Like, obviously that's not the most efficient way to do it, but I was able to do it, which is great. And I think that's an ode to it. I do agree. I think that ideally I think the best thing to farm is obviously Infinitum C, plain and simple. If you're farming, like grinding. And then naturally the step down below that is King of Pirates. Absolutely. But for those that just want to get in and out, I've actually found that farming Warlord is quite very straightforward and very easy. Like,
speaking of Warlord, actually, have you noticed that there's 2 Chopperman quests for the same thing?
Yeah, it's very stupid. I think that it's all typos and mistakes and...
Yeah, I've just been, like, while we've been doing this video, I've literally just been running Warlord, trying to get this one mission done, realizing that it had already propped, like, 3 above.
Yes, because there's a lot of mistakes and errors and stuff. But
beautiful.
I think that, like, again, I think we need to take a step back and look at it from, like, a holistic perspective. What co-op provides, though, is that Treasure Cruise has the functionality now to connect to players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
Because if we can swing it into Pirate Rumble...
Yes, sir. Get that tournament going.
I will be hosting the biggest Treasure Cruise tournament of all time.
And if Bandai is listening to this video and they take anything from that, please let it be that last little tidbit.
I love how it's like the state of the game on COP, but we're like, Rumble though. Like,
Rumble, Championship's out right now.
Championship's out, you know what I'm saying? No, I think, like, look, like, I think that, again, like, the overall nature of COP is quite cool. So
yeah, I agree. I'm a big fan of it.
I really hope that they continue the iterative process that they've recently kind of taken to Treasure Cruise on, where they continue to work towards making co-op better and better and better. Because I think whilst co-op isn't necessarily going to be the cash cow, because mind you, at first people thought like, oh, the end of month units going to be so much more valuable because the co-op drops. Doesn't matter.
Nah.
It doesn't matter. Once again, the end of month units are the least valuable. Like the Zoro and Sanji that just came out, don't even think about them. You know what I mean? Like, move on. Usopp as well, stuff they even too. But like, that's TM. But like, the idea of like the end of month being valuable is irrelevant because I think the way that things are boosted in terms of the drops is fantastic. Owning the unit gives you the drop, which is great. But I will say though, Stump, people aren't bringing this up enough. When we don't have the boosted ship, we're gonna have to stall in co-op.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like the boosted ship is nice, very challenging. It I believe there's a rule set too that gives you
So currently, the reduced special charge time. Oh, I just missed it. I'm stupid. Is defense and debuff style characters reduce special charge time by 2 turns.
Yeah, right. Okay, I see what you're trying to say.
Yes. I think also, sorry, there's also another one. I didn't see that too. Strength, Dex, and Psi characters reduced by 3, I believe it is.
Yep.
So, I actually didn't notice there as well. There's an int/... I actually didn't notice that at first.
Int and Dex enemy appearance up.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was actually a thing. So I guess that you're more likely to get, like, what? Like...
Moria and all that shit.
Usopp, final boss, and that kind of stuff as well. Okay, that's kind of cool. I think that, obviously, at the end of the day, they then want you to use, like, defense, debuff, fighter slasher, free spirit characters, which I'm sure there's plenty of them.
Yeah.
And that kind of like that array of characters. Oh, there you go. Yeah, there's 3 turns of charge, there's 5 turns of charge, and there's 2 turns of charge. So strength, Dex, and Psi, fighter slasher, free spirit, and defense and debuff get charge time. But at the same time, like that's I don't know. I don't want to be building teams like that. Ew. Yeah.
That's a good point. Actually, I never really like proper broke that down in terms of like you will have to change the team every now and again. At the moment, we've just been running that crazy cracked ass team, which might not change all that much, to be honest, because the bosses don't have that much HP and support, switch abilities, all that kind of stuff does rule supreme in the game mode. Yes. But obviously, if Nami Karina aren't getting their special, like that's going to be a problem. Like,
since this video's had no structure, which is par for the course with the state of the games, what are your opinion, or what is your opinion on the gimmicks being the same from last season to this season?
I don't hate it, to be honest, because like you said, we have the boosted ship, we're running the same team and stuff like that, and that will eventually change. Eventually we'll have to look at different boosters or different units to take down the same content, which essentially to me is just garbage challenges all over again, which I never had a problem with.
Yeah. I think I think I was talking about it with someone the other day, but I think it's very interesting that the gimmicks are the same, but when you really think about it, how much more different can you make them?
Exactly.
Like, we only have a finite amount of debuff. I mean, it seems that we have an endless amount of debuffs, but in reality, the majority of the debuffs that we see in co-op are like pain, which is annoying, pain and bleed's very common, but then even like the main things are just all the defensive ones, which is like threshold, defense up, PDR.
Yeah, there's a bunch of despair, there's a bunch of paralysis, there's a bunch of that stuff as well.
But it's all things that we're very commonly attributed to.
Yeah.
Obviously, damage limiter is cringe, resilience is cringe, that kind of stuff as well. But like, I think that at the end of the day, I'm not against them keeping the gimmicks the same month to month. It might get a bit stale, but at least we know. I mean, again, you are right though, because it's the exact same as Garb challenges, right?
Pretty much.
The gimmicks, the Garb challenges stayed consistent throughout, regardless. And the way to change that though is say, okay, instead of the 10 straw hats being the final bosses, change the bosses, change the characters.
Make it the warlords next time. I don't know.
Make it the warlords. Make it something else. That's a cool idea. Make it the Whitebeard pirates. Make it the Blackbeard pirates. Make it and then have all of them still like, for example, have it so whenever Usopp appears as a boss, we always know it's damage limiter and this and this and this. So if you bring him back in 3 months' time as a boss, he will stay with the same debuffs. So then over time, people can start building up that repertoire of, oh, I know on this stage, if Usopp appears, it's going to be X, Y, Z. And, you can kind of build up that repertoire going forward, which I think is ideal. Because I think that, I also don't think that co-op is an efficiency game mode, though. People might see it as one, but I think that deep down, the whole idea of co-op is to just cooperate with friends or with other allies and kind of get through the quest together. Yeah,
like I said at the start of the video, I think it's just a way to expand the multiverse of OPTC a little bit more.
Absolutely. I think as well, you have to also factor in this idea that that they did a big overhaul in the mode itself from when we've got the initial drop of it to now, where we have the kind of sticker function, which again doesn't really, it's not as robust as you might want it to be, but it still does the needful. It does the job.
It still helps. It still helps.
You can get the, let me handle this. Spam.
Yep.
The whole time.
That's my go-to one.
Yeah, it's or like the sorry one every time I mess up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, or like I thank you. I give you my life. I give you my life.
I give my life when someone saves you, right? Like, and it's cool. Like, it's cool, and I hope that they like. Even like small things like that they tweak and update like would be ideal as well.
For sure.
Like making more ways for me to be able to interact with the person I'm playing with. Because again, for a lot of I think we sometimes forget that we're very blessed that we have really cool communities of friends that like, for example, like, in our Discord we can just pop in and say who wants to play co-op.
Yeah.
Someone most likely will say, "Yep, me," and you run it. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's all. I think that we take that for granted at times because not everyone's in that same position to do the same thing. And I think that that's the coolest part of co-op is that I can go farm with someone, and then at the end of the quest, if I don't have them as a friend, I can add them as a friend, and like you can go from there, which is dope. I will say though, I don't know when you want to cut this video off, but before we cut it off at some point, screw the 10 mil bounty mission. Period. That's the worst thing in the game. That thing sucks so much. I don't know.
Right. Got it. I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, no, I 100% agree. 10 mil bounty is so easy to get now. Like, it's like you can be playing for a day and have 10 million bounty. It's kind of wild.
I think the way that they fix that is by having it be 10 mil for apprentice, 20 mil for captain, and 30 mil for warlord.
Yeah, I just think you need to make it way higher. like it needs to be like it just needs to be like take a look at all the basic content that they could, like a player could do in like say a month, and then just like triple it, and then you're good.
I think 25 mil is good. 25 mil is way more, because I think a lot of people when they start the game will get to like 10 or 11 mil, and then it's like a slow grind upwards for like 15, 17, 19, etc.
Yeah, I mean, if you just do like Dofi 2, Rev 2, jump into like level 1 of some couple of Grand Voyages, which are very easy to do nowadays. Like they were once upon a time hard content, but like not hard to do now. What you do some forests, if you want to go through and grind the arenas and stuff, like just beat them one time for some gems, like you can get a lot of bounty very, very quickly.
Absolutely. Like I think 25 mil would be better. I don't think they'll change it. But I will say though, it was an experience spamming. I think Tony and I were playing at the same time and trying to get the 10 mil below. And because like I believe that like the way that it connects is like globally, so you can see the same people would like be competing to kind of get into the room of somebody below 10 mil. and it was like this argy-bargy kind of like process of things, which I think was funny but like, I think I ended up spending like 2.5 hours of refreshing to get the 10 mil ones done, which in hindsight is stupid, because if you just run Apprentice, like chances are you're
eventually gonna find someone.
And I think in the next like couple runs that I did, my Apprentice was like 790k, my Captain was like 2 mil. It's like, damn, okay. You know what I mean? I just wasted a bunch of time, but it's funny at the end of the day. But I think it's again this kind of notion of like, the development team, the production team, notoriously don't understand the aspects of the game they created. Here you go. I summed it up quite nicely in my survey, is what I've realized. The development and production team for OPTC have been notorious for not understanding any aspect of the game they created. And co-op mode is the culmination of just that. Excellent in theory, poor in practice.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I agree, but I think that there's still a lot of potential there, and I feel like they've given themselves a great platform and basis to work with.
Platform. Yes,
all they have to do now is work on it and not let it just like rot. As like, sweet, we've done it. There it is. There you go. Have fun, kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
It just needs to, even if it's only little tweaks, it doesn't have to be like big treasure map tweaks like they do every single week or every month, I should say.
Every week it feels like at this point. Dude.
Yeah, bro.
Jesus.
But I understand why. But like, they don't need to do stuff like that. But as long as they're looking at it and continuously evolving it and making it more fun, because I do find co-op to be just a very fun game mode. Absolutely. To just sort of jump in and just play. And honestly, like, I'll jump into IS, and if I fail it, I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever.
Which is good because when you fail, you don't spend stamina, which I think is a massively positive.
So I'm just like, yeah, cool, that's cool. Like, sure, that was
awesome. You know,
that was like 5 minutes of my time, but at the end of the day, I'm still playing OPTC. Like, I was still having fun. Sure, I could have been auto farming totals, and that probably would have been more valuable for my account. But at the end of the day, like, I don't really care.
Well, you're a min-max Michael or something.
Yes,
like that.
sir.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, definitely not. But I think that's everything that we need to talk about with co-op.
Yeah, I think so. I think like I'll apologize again. Like, it wasn't really as structured or as well thought out as it is. But I think co-op is this really just interesting concept where the sky is the limit with the mode. And you are right. It is about ensuring they don't allow it to deprecate to the point where it just exists and people just don't really care too much about it. So hopefully the development team, if you are listening, you continue to update the mode, because as we said, you have a fantastic structure here. You just need to make it more and more enjoyable every time.
Absolutely. And for all you other people that are watching, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section about co-op as well. And if you got this far in the video, Papi, what word are they going to slap down there?
Slap down. I'm panicking. I want to see everyone put in excellent in theory, poor in practice.
Damn. All right. Excellent in theory, poor in practice, or excellent in practice, poor in theory. If you want to be,
what
mix it up a little bit.
I don't know. What camp are you in? Who knows? Right?
Yeah, let me know down below. While you're down there, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll leave all Papi's socials down there too as well. Make sure to go follow him on Twitter, otherwise known as X, because this man does get all the good stuff up very quickly and very early. If you guys want to stay up to date with all of the information on OPTC, thank you so much for being here, my friend. I appreciate you as always.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. We love a bit of state of the game. Always enjoyable time.
You make it like a theme song. State of the game.
We actually do.
State of the game.
I'm so down. Let's run it.
All right, yeah. Thank you all for watching. Catch you all in the next one. Peace.
Peace.